What's up everyone? In today's video, we're gonna go back to the 60s and 70s so I can show you how to get those vintage rock vibes out of your t-shirt graphics. Tons of tips and tricks along the way. Let's go. What's up everyone? In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can sort of achieve a 1960s, 70s kind of groovy rock vibe. I'm going to use Led Zeppelin as the example, and it's going to be a long video. I'm basically going to try to mimic that rock 1960s, 70s style, more leaning towards the 70s where things were maybe a little bit brighter, there's a little bit more like effects going on, and it's gonna be a long one. I'm not gonna edit it. I'm just gonna dive into Photoshop and see what I can do and show you guys some tricks along the way. This is a case where, like, you know, sometimes I'm gonna take you guys out on the boat and we're gonna go fishing and we're gonna get food that way, and I'm gonna feed you guys for the rest of your life. Some days I'm gonna take you to Red Lobster, meaning like my last video, I showed you guys a really quick way to do bootleg style text with literally the click of a button. Be sure to watch that, and the video before that shows you guys kind of the long-winded way of doing it, where you're applying different styles and really doing things yourself. So that's sort of the balance I want to strike on this channel. It's like sometimes showing you guys really how to do it yourself inside Photoshop, showing you all the little tips and tricks, and sometimes I'm just gonna have like really quick workarounds in case, you know, I don't know, you guys are the busiest people on earth and you just need to get stuff done quickly. Either way is good. As long as you're here, that is all that matters to me. So let's dive right in and see what we've got going on inside Photoshop. So this is the example that I found that I really liked, and I think we're just gonna try to do something today for Led Zeppelin. You know, I couldn't think of like a more iconic kind of band, a rock band from, you know, the 60s and 70s. They're obviously massive and they've got this really iconic logo, and I've designed for Led Zeppelin before. I've gotten approvals for Led Zeppelin. I haven't really done anything in this style for Led Zeppelin before, but that's what we're gonna try to do today. We're gonna basically combine this style with this other example I found. I really like the color palette here. I liked how it wasn't as busy as this. I feel like if we try to jump in and do like some crazy thing with clouds and all this stuff, it's gonna take a really long time, for one, and two, you know, I'm gonna wanna experiment with a million different things if we do that. So I feel like if we combine these two examples where this is a little bit more simplified and stripped down, but it's still got the same sort of color palette feel with the nice golds and reds and that sort of thing, we're gonna get in the ballpark if we just sort of combine them. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just find a photo to use. Like, truth be told, I could just use the stuff that I already have. Like I said, I've designed for them before, so I have a bunch of stuff, but I felt like that wasn't really fair to you guys, since, like, you know, well, you're probably not gonna be designing for Led Zeppelin for yourselves. Like, I'm trying to really do this stuff from scratch for you guys. So right now I'm looking for a photo that the background is already mostly like one color, like black specifically, so that it'll be pretty easy to like mess around with right away. We won't have to like cut out the band members or anything like that. This one's pretty good, and I like that it's a little bit more vertically oriented versus like something like that, which is like kind of wider. This has like too much in the background, but this is pretty good. So let's just grab this photo and bring it into Photoshop. Then we're gonna do Command A, that'll grab the whole thing, Command C, and notice it's copyrighted. So, you know, this goes without saying, don't just grab stuff from Google and use it on real shirts that you're designing and selling. That's totally illegal, and I don't recommend it. This is strictly for like the purpose of this tutorial. So let's get rid of that. All right, so we've got our photo. We want the photo to sort of mimic this Boston style, and essentially this is like mostly just like thresholded, it looks like anyways, but we're gonna try a couple different options to sort of get us in the ballpark of that Boston example. So first thing I'm gonna do is just change these colors to black and white over here, our swatches, and I'm gonna first try, let's make it a smart object in case we need to go back. First thing I'm gonna do is try filter gallery, and I'm gonna try stamp effect. What I like about stamp is that you can kind of get, I always, more often than not, have smoothness all the way down to 1, because that gives you pretty much the maximum amount of detail. If this photo was a little bit more high resolution in the first place, we would see a bit more detail, but it's not, so whatever, it's fine. Most of the stuff from like the 60s and 70s is sort of lacking detail anyways, so it might actually help us out. So this is looking pretty good. Like, I could definitely see using this. I wish there was a little bit more detail in Jimmy Page's hair, but I think if we just start off with this, we can actually just duplicate this, and then we'll do this again, but get a little bit more detail in Jimmy's hair here. We just want to, there's not that much in the first place, but so we're going to use the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just gonna grab like a slice here of the hair, and I'm gonna do Command J and bring that to the top. And then I'm just going to group these together, duplicate them in case we need them later, and then we're gonna merge the groups together. So that way we've got our, the first pass that we did, and then we've got Jimmy's added like hair. Okay, so then I'm gonna grab the magic wand tool, and I'm gonna take all of the white, just click all the white, and do Command J, bring that to the top. And so now we just have a white layer. And I'm gonna just do some quick fixes here, where there's like these little dots that are it's just sort of distracting. Get rid of those, so it's just a nice clean, just nice clean kind of blocks of color, and there's not a ton of, some of these little things are fine, that adds more detail, but pretty good there. Okay, so let's get our color palette going. Now, both of these examples use that kind of gold color, but I don't want to use, well, I might use a little bit of blue, but I mostly want to use this gold color and this red color. I feel like those are pretty solid, and they're gonna be helpful with this. I think we'll probably end up doing like some blues in their pants here, but let's start coloring this in. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I want to do this in any sort of like circle or anything, but I think let's just stick to what they're doing here, which is just like the guys sort of in a group and not like massed in a circle or a shape or anything. So let's start coloring this stuff in. We've got our main layer here. We're gonna throw another layer on top of that, and then right away go to a clipping mask on that, because this is what we're gonna use to color stuff in. So let's see, what would work good? Maybe we could start out with doing like some hair. Robert Plant's hair should definitely be like this kind of gold color. So I'm just using the brush tool to sort of brush over this white, and because there's a clipping mask, it's just hitting, the whites. It's not, if we didn't have that clipping mask, this is what it would look like. So just coloring this stuff in. I'm gonna try to work a little bit faster than I normally would, just for the sake of this tutorial. But obviously, you know, if you were really doing this for a band, you want to make sure you're being real meticulous on coloring this in and getting everything right where it needs to be, you know. Okay, pretty good. Could probably do this dude's hair. What's this dude's Jones? Something George Paul Jones, does that sound right? I know that's John Bonham, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page. I think George Paul Jones. I'm gonna be so annoyed if I'm wrong about that later. Okay. This guy some blonde hair. There you go, buddy. Okay. And where else could we use this yellow? Maybe like these little accents on Robert Plant's jacket could be cool. You know, let's mix it up and not do all of them, just do some of them. Let's get them up here too. Okay. Pretty cool. And basically when I'm coloring stuff in, I just try to like sort of space it out so that it's not, like, I wouldn't want like this guy's shirt to be yellow and then like this dude's shirt to be yellow. I like to kind of make things even all the way across. So let's do another layer so we can add in another color here. We've got this red. We could make like these little accents, maybe red. I sort of feel like, I mean, we're gonna have to use a color on these guys' shirts. I don't love the idea of having huge blocks of color, but I guess we'll see how it looks. This, I feel okay about making this guy's shirt red because there is like some other detail that's sort of diffusing that big block of color. So I think we'll be able to get away with this. Smaller of a brush here to get this smaller detail. Okay, it's looking pretty good there. Make sure we get all that. Okay, and let's add just a little bit more detail on this jacket here. Looks like this, we missed there. That's supposed to be yellow, so we're gonna add that in quick. There we go. Back to our red. Oops. Okay, let's make this stuff red down here too. That sort of mimics that in a weird way, I feel like. Okay, and then I want to do, let's make sure this is red too. I want to do blue for pants. Oops. So let's grab that blue from here. I like this sort of denim color for literally denim. All right, another clipping mask here. Let's do these blue pants on John Bonham. Hell of a drummer, John Bonham. If you're into drumming at all, do yourself a favor and YouTube some John Bonham drumming clips, because he's a fucking maniac and a legend. Alright, we're gonna do Jimmy Page's jeans as well. And that kind of works out nicely because we can kind of skip over Robert Plant. You know, maybe we'll make his jean or his pants that green color that was in the Boston example. Might look cool. Let's see. Yeah, let's try it. Sounds good. Just some green from there. I don't know if we're going to be able to get away with having two white shirts there. I think it might look kind of bad, but we'll see. this right here, I think I'm just gonna get rid of this little piece here because I think it's just gonna look weird. So we're just gonna go back to our white layer and literally just hit delete and get rid of that. I think I'm gonna do the same thing here too. I'm just gonna use the eraser tool. I just don't like little like specks that are kind of distracting. Let's make these little accents gold actually also. All about the details, man. And I've overbrushed with the green here, so we're gonna, there we go. All right. So I think we might have to make like one of their shirts or both of them probably green. Yeah, let's just see how that looks. Like I said, I don't love the, well, you know, the other thing too that we can do is, you know how we added more detail into Jimmy Page's hair at the beginning? We could try to do that with the shirt so it's not, there's not so much white there. So let's go back to our filter gallery, increase the dark, so yeah, dude. That way, at least with this, like that's gonna look better. There's gonna be more detail in his shirt. And I think it's gonna help us a lot. Okay, so now what do we do, right? Because we've got this big, we've got this new filter gallery image. So what I would probably do is just use, I'm just gonna use the polygonal lasso tool and just grab what we need from over here. Hopefully this will work. And then same thing here with Jimmy's shirt. Okay, and then I'm just gonna do Command J, bring it back down here. Okay, so now you can see that we have more detail in his sweatshirt there. And from here, what we would probably want to do is just kind of, I mean, there's a few methods I could technically do here, but I think the easiest thing is going to be well, this black is gonna fuck things up. Maybe not. All right, so check this out. First thing we're gonna do is just like erase some of this stuff that's overlapping onto our other image. And do we need to over here? No, it's good. Okay, and then we're basically just going to apply what we're doing down here to this, but we need to keep the black in there because if we extract the white like we did here, it's not gonna work, see? Then we just get rid of it because what increased the detail on the shirts is the black in there, right? So what we'll probably wanna do is create a new layer above this new level of detail, do a clipping mask, but since there's black and white, we'll need to make it a multiply. We'll need to make the blend mode multiply. So then that way, once we start hitting it with the brush, it's just gonna paint the whites. It's not gonna paint the blacks as well. And because we are working down to the pixel, after this is all said and done with and we're happy with like how we've colored it, we can just merge everything together and separate the colors because like I said, we are working down to the pixel, so doing color separation is super easy to do. And you know, that's not always the case with a lot of, you know, like in my other videos with like the bootleg rap stuff, I'm usually more often than not working with full color images and coloring to like grayscale, so it's a lot harder to merge stuff together and separate and do all those little tricks. Let's get rid of this stuff as well. There we go. But yeah, when you're doing this vintage type stuff and you're using like the stamp effect, you're working down to the pixel, so you can merge stuff together and do it that way. I'll show you. I'll show you in a second. Just hold on here. I don't know if Robert Plant, or rather Jimmy Page, would be super stoked about wearing a green shirt, because he's sort of like, I feel like sort of like a mystical guy who'd wear like all black all the time and shit. This is sort of funky. Can't really see what's going on here. Do I want to add another level of detail? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. We might really have to. So I want to be able to see what's going on with his hand here, and you really can't. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see like his hand and shit here. It's a little better. Let's just bump it up by, yeah, all right. Yeah, I think that's gonna be helpful. So this is what we gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do, man. You want this stuff to look right. Command J. This, so now we've got, and what we might be able to get away with here is, let's get rid of this green. We might be able to, yeah, I mean, that's not bad there. What if we just for the sake of getting this done quicker, if we duplicate this, and then in this top layer rather, we do color overlay, multiply, and then just make it all green. And then we just go in here and just brush out like the areas that we need to be white. I think this is going to be faster. And once again, this is like something you can only do because you're working down in the pixel. If we weren't working down in the pixel, half of this shit would not work. So yeah, this is, you know, faster than doing the whole shirt in green. And this is just kind of the stuff that, you know, comes with practice and comes from just having done this a bunch. You kind of just know what is more efficient in terms of time. Again, I'm just kind of doing this, you know, faster than I normally would, just for the sake of the tutorial. All right. So I think that'll work there. And I'm going to get rid of this as well, so it flows with his shirt. Isn't all like boxy. Okay. Is that part of his hand too? Yeah, that's his thumb. So we've got most of our image here together, and at this point I would feel confident in just merging all this together. First, let's just group it in case we need to go back. That's what I always say, just like always have duplicates and backups and make smart objects, and that way you can always mess around more with it later. And I'm just gonna sort of get rid of some stuff that like doesn't really need to be there. It doesn't add anything, you know, just sort of distracting. If you can get away with, you know, not having a ton going on, but you can still see like the details, I feel like that's helpful. It's sometimes when you try to get all this stuff in there, it just like mucks it up and it doesn't look as good. Okay. So we've got basically our main image down, right? The main photo aspect of the design. So from here, I'm actually gonna throw a texture on here right away, just because I feel like that's gonna sort of put me more in the zone of this being a vintage shirt, and it'll, I think, allow me to make some better decisions if I can sort of see where it's headed. So I'm gonna use the 15 vintage textures you can get on Creative Market. I'll link below. And we're going to group everything together, get this layer mask going, add layer mask. I have a video that's all about adding texture, if you guys want to watch that, where I break this down a little bit more for you. Okay, so that's cool, that's definitely helpful. I think I'm going to add another layer of texture, so I'm going to group this group, do another layer mask, and then let's grab like vintage speckled grunge. Maybe that'll get us. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't want too much on their face. We can adjust that in a second. But, you know, you basically just want one layer that's sort of over the entire, you know, graphic, that's just sort of gonna apply a vintage feel to the whole thing. And then I like to add a secondary layer that's a little bit thicker, like a little more visible, and just sort of adds like the little like sort of plastisol cracks to it. But again, I don't want it to be really over their faces, so I'm just going to use the clone stamp tool and just hold down Option, get some areas that are a little less, that don't have like big cracks. I'm just gonna go back over their face. So that's just like, I've just learned that over the years that like, generally, if there is any sort of critique when it's a photo design with texture, they'll often say like, can you remove the texture over their faces so you can see it better. So yeah, that added just a little extra something to it. So now let's get into the text aspect of this. So let's bring these examples back to the top so they're not, you know, texture over them. So what I want to do is, I mean, this is just plain Jane here, but I think this actual Led Zeppelin example with like the sort of glow, like fuzzy glow around the outside is going to be cool to show you guys how you can do. So let's try that. So first thing I'm going to do is just bring in the Led Zeppelin logo that I was already messing around before this tutorial, so I just have it here. And normally you would probably want to open this in Illustrator, but I just, for the sake of these tutorials, try to stay inside Photoshop so I'm not jumping around a bunch. So I'm just going to grab this, Command copy, get rid of this file, and just do Command V, get it in there. I'll make it a smart object right away, so in case we want to decrease the size, it's not going to lose resolution. And let's just make this white, you know, for now. And let's get it into our layer so all the texture effects are being applied to it. So, yeah, I mean, we could probably just do it red like the example, you know, why not? So let's use this red color, bring it down a bit. And, you know, the first thing, I'll just keep this up here so we can, first thing I'm noticing is there's a little like sort of inner shadow, it looks like, of this blue. But we're not using that blue in our design, so let's try to use something else for that. Let's use, maybe we could just use this green color. Red and green might be kind of weird, that's sort of like Christmas vibes. We could maybe use this yellow color. color. Why is it just doing an outline? That's weird, right? The contour? Yeah, weird. Just randomly had contour on something else. So we want that. We want it just like this. And I think maybe, like what they're doing here is like the blue is darker than the red, so I think that's adding more of a shadow. This is adding basically a highlight. So if we just flip these around and do the text in yellow and the inner shadow in red, it's gonna get us a little bit closer to the example here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's not really adding a whole lot to it. So I don't even know if we need to do that. Let's just go back to having this in red and not worry about the inner shadow. I don't know. Here, it's cool and all, but like I said, for me, it's not adding a whole lot. I think what I'm gonna end up doing though is doing a stroker on the outside. So let's do that. Let's do 15, and then I'm gonna duplicate this text layer. Let's just name this logo. And this is gonna be our logo glow, right? So we're going to remove the stroke, color overlay, let's change it to white. And the outer glow is what we want to get that fuzzy sort of vibe going that's like in this example. So you can see here that it's almost like a painted, like spray painted sort of texture. And we can kind of get close, but we're gonna need to manipulate it after we get things going in the layer style here. So first thing I'm gonna do is add some noise, and that's gonna sort of start to make that spray painted kind of effect going. And then I'm gonna increase the spread. Size is pretty good where it is. Increase the spread a little more, a little bit more noise. A little bit more, pull back a little bit on the size. Okay. That's pretty good there. Okay, so you could leave it like that, but what I like to do is make it a little bit more chunky. And to do that, I'm gonna go to the background layer, hit Command J, and that's gonna duplicate it. And I'm going to merge our glow layer and this background layer so it'll flatten everything down. And then from here, you see that we lost some of the glow when we did that. That's fine. I'm gonna go filter, noise, and I'm gonna add even more noise to it. And then I'm gonna go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And that's basically how we're gonna be able to chunk up this glow. Adjustments, image adjustments threshold. And then you can see like it's starting to like be a little bit more chunky. And that's sort of, I feel like that just sort of like adds a cool element. It almost looks just like shittily kind of screen printed. So that's sort of getting us in the ballpark. Theirs is like more stippled, almost like with a stipple brush. But I'm just trying to use strictly, layer style and blur and noise and all that to sort of achieve the same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good there. I'm gonna blur it again. Yeah, I'm cool with that. So then I just got rid of all the black there, so we just have the white. Okay, and it's looking pretty old school for sure. I think what's gonna add another dimension to this, I'm gonna group these two together so we just have kind of the logo in one group. And I'm gonna go underneath the photo of the guys. Adding layers of dimension to your designs will pretty much always take it like to the next level. So, and what I mean by that is like, you know, if you just had it up here and there's like separation, it sort of takes away from the composition as a whole. Whereas if you're a little bit more deliberate in like making this logo a part of the photo, it makes it feel more cohesive and less like detached. So I'm just gonna add a layer above this logo so we can sort of paint in black here to fill in his hair basically. So let's just get some black here. We can just sort of eyeball it and fill it in here. So, you know, it's gonna look essentially like he's standing in front of the logo, right? Here, I don't think we need to do much. We could maybe add a little bit here so it looks like the top of his head is just sort of hitting it, but I don't know. I don't really think that's necessary. I think here maybe it works, but over here not so much. I'm just sort of like eyeballing this. A little bit more so it looks clearly deliberate and not just like an accident. See there, that looks bad because it looks like his hair is like super huge. And I think in the actual photo it's like, let's just look at the original photo quick. This would be helpful too. Yeah, I mean you can't even see the top of his head in the photo, but it's probably like, you know, there or something, right? So, yeah. Let's just get rid of that false alarm. Sorry, guys. All right, but that was definitely a cool move because that adds some dimension for sure. So it's looking pretty good. You know, it's definitely got that sort of vintage vibe going. One thing I'm kind of thinking that might be cool is if we took the logo and first I want to mess around with this stroke because I have a feeling if we have it on the inside, it's going to look better. Yeah, I think that ultimately looks better. Inner stroke and center stroke. For some reason, I feel like when it comes to vintage stuff, it just always looks better than outer stroke. Like, I don't know. I can't really put my finger on why that is exactly. I just think it does. So I'm gonna go with this 18. Let's see what 20 looks like just for my OCD. You know how we do. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna save this really quick. Please hold, sorry. Okay. Led Zepp. I'm just saving it to the desktop. So we definitely got a 60s, 70s vibe going. What else could we add? What might be cool is if we just took the logo itself, I'm gonna rasterize it real quick. And actually, no, that won't work. I need to keep the effects on it, rasterize it so that we still have this stroke. And then I'm gonna grab just the red, duplicate it, that was Command J, and then that pulls it off of the stroke layer. So now, see, we just have the red. And I'm just gonna see what it looks like if there's just a little bit of like a printing offset, which is basically like when they would print shirts, and this can still happen today, you know, but when they print shirts, there's typically a base layer of white, and then all the color goes on top of that, and that's what basically makes shirts like really pop with color, is it's called an underbase. And sometimes the colors get a little bit off, so you can see some of the white poking through, and that, you know, was something that was typical in like the 60s and 70s, you know, when printing technology wasn't necessarily as on point as it is now. So I just wanted to see what this looks like. It's just these small details that, you know, add up. Very tiny. It's okay. I mean, I don't feel like it adds a ton. Let's try it maybe like instead. And remember, don't treat this like a low light or a highlight, because it's literally just supposed to be the print a little bit off. That's kind of cool. Let's just keep it like that. Let's see it without it. Yeah, it definitely adds just a little bit more of a dimension to it. So let's look at these examples again and sort of see what else we could mess around with. We're coming up on like 40 minutes here, so I like these little stars, and I think we could add that. This is not intentional at all, but I have another pack on Creative Market that is classic rock elements, and like I said, this was not planned, but I'm just thinking now that one of the examples I have, one of the elements that I have in this classic rock package is a bunch of star elements, and I think it's like a star cluster, yeah, right there. So I'm gonna try throwing that in here and seeing what that looks like. And yeah, I can't remember how much. I think it's like 15. It's either 15 or like 18 bucks to get that. It's basically just like a ton of different elements that you can just throw in really quick like this, and it just sort of adds those little details. I mean, that's kind of cool. Let's get it down to our layer. Yeah, I mean, that definitely adds just a little bit extra to it, you know? What color? Yeah, they had like multiple colors in there. That's kind of cool. So what if we had like some of them red and some of them yellow? Oops, sorry. So we're gonna add another layer above the star cluster that we made red, and then we're just gonna paint in some of them to be yellow. And you know, we can move some of this stuff around later, of course. It's kind of cool. Okay, just a few of them, nothing too crazy. Okay, and then I'm just gonna merge them together because, like I said, working down the pixel, we can do that. And then I'm gonna get rid of the ones we don't need, so you know, anything that's over their bodies is not gonna make any sense. We just want to use this the stars sort of as an element around the outside to just add a little another level of you know, detail. Most of these up here. Some of them I like I like this little one that's sort of in the center here, or in this gap between the Z and the E. That's kind of cool. Let's add another one here. So I'm just like grabbing these and bumping them over. And this is just sort of the, you know, when you're getting into the details of a design, and you just have to sort of eyeball it and see compositionally like what's going to look good, and just trust your eye. You know, there's not like a, you know, one method that's going to work great for this. This would be kind of cool maybe if it was like almost looking like it was shining, like the text was sort of like sparkly. Is that kind of cool? I don't know. I don't hate it. Why not? Let's just move this down and get rid of more of these. Now, I don't hate that this is just kind of cut off at the bottom, but I also don't love it. Excuse me. So, and I'm gonna make some more of these gold while we're at it. Coming up on 45 minutes, but yeah, as far as I can tell, you guys don't seem to mind like the longer videos, so it's all good. All right, so that's not bad, not bad. And looks like we've got a few stragglers here we need to get rid of. one easy way to see, because the stars are red, the logo is red, so we might be missing some, so I'm just gonna make it like green really quick so you can see. Yeah, see, we missed a bunch of them here. What else? Yeah, all these in his shirt. I just do that, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have to do that, but it's gonna cover up some of the black on his shirt, so we might as well just get rid of it. Okay, that's pretty much everything, it looks like. Okay. So, that's pretty good there. Let's see, I'm still debating this inner shadow. I don't know if I like it. What would happen if it was like black? What does that look like? That's kind of interesting. It adds a little bit more. I kind of like it in black instead. Yeah, let's just do that. Keep things a little more simple. So, like I said, this bottom, like, what is it, an example, it looks like theirs just kind of like fades out. What about in this one? And that, I mean, that is technically just straight across. We could see, I have a feeling that it's going to look cooler if it sort of gradually fades on the bottom, but we can't use just a regular gradient fade because that's too like, it's too modern. It doesn't really make sense. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group everything together and I'm gonna duplicate it. And I'm going to first add a gradient with just the gradient tool. We're gonna go to the basic and use this transparent and black. We're gonna go to 90 and just get it sort of on the bottom here. Yeah. Make sure opacity's at 100. Just a little bit. Okay. So, yeah. So basically our only concern right here is just this black. So I'm gonna take the group and I'm going to take the fill opacity to 0, and then I'm going to duplicate the background, bring it up here, and make it white. So now we can just see our little gradient on the bottom, right? So then if I make this, if I multiply this, that's all we're gonna see. But like I said, we don't want it to just be a gradual fade. We want it to be a little bit more in the vein of like this fuzz up here. So let's try to do, let's try to add some noise to it and sort of make it similar. It's like kind of a chunky gradient. So we're gonna add some noise first, and I'm gonna go back to normal here so we can just see. Add a little more noise, Gaussian blur it up. And you know, so this is gonna maintain our gradual fade, but it's going to look a little bit more like spray painty like that, see? I think that's gonna overall just make it look more cohesive to the rest of the design. Really using the word cohesive a lot today. What do you think about that? Okay, so that's not bad. I think we overdid it a little bit. So we're gonna pull back a little bit here so it's closer to the bottom. Yeah. How's that? I feel like if we made it a little bit more, a little bit chunkier, it would look better. Chunk it up. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what we're going for. Then we can just go in here with a black paint tool, get rid of some of this stuff on the bottom. But yeah, then it, you know, it's a little bit more, I don't know, it just flows better, you know, like if it was just cut off at the bottom, like it's fine sometimes, but personally I just like to try to make things look a little bit more, you know, pleasant to the eye, I guess. So, I mean, this is pretty good. It definitely has like that 60s, 70s vibe. It's got that rock sort of vibe to it. I could see adding another element, you know, maybe like a Zeppelin, like in the example, like this, maybe add that like right here or something. I don't think I'm gonna get into that in this tutorial because I just wanted to show you guys how you can sort of get to a place where it has that 60s, 70s vibe. And you know, it's basically just a combination of using some good textures, you know, adding effects that are conducive to that era and are not necessarily like straight Photoshop, you know, styles or effects. You know, getting the photo into this threshold area, painting things in, you know, it's just a series of different effects that, you know, give you this 60s, 70s vibe. So I think that's it for today. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys, and it sort of showed you, you know, little ways that you can manipulate photos and text to sort of get that rock vibe. You know, take the lessons from this video and experiment on your own. You know, add in other elements, use different photos, try out different colors. Like you could, you know, if you wanted to, from this you could just like flatten the whole image down and sorry, I have to move a text off my phone. You could flatten everything except for the textures layers and just pull all of the colors off and start and use like the hue saturation tool, mess around with it. I could make this video 2 hours long and just do that, but I feel like this gets the basic stuff across that'll sort of get you guys on the right path, so you can do it yourself. So that is it for today. You know, check out my other videos. There's a great video on adding vintage texture. There's another video that has other techniques for vintage stuff that wasn't necessarily meant to look 60s and 70s, but it kind of does, and it has like more of like photo manipulation, adding highlights, lowlights, midtones, that sort of thing, and you know, creating sort of an environment in that way. So definitely give that a watch. Thank you to all of the new subscribers. Hopefully, you know, you're gonna stick around even though this stuff isn't like bootleg rap. You could apply all of these methods, and you know, instead of using, you know, Led Zeppelin, you could use, you know, like rap imagery or hip-hop photos or whatever, and you know, you're still gonna have sort of what amounts to still sort of like a bootleg kind of design. So like I've said in previous videos, like it's important, in my opinion, to like go through these other videos, because you're gonna just be able to pull different techniques from each video and apply them, and you know, your overall knowledge base is just going to keep expanding to all these different things. Check out the last video I did that shows bootleg text and like how to apply bootleg text using layer styles. Felt like that was a really good, it's a short video and it has a little download for you guys, so you can start using that. Yeah, I'm gonna not ramble too much because I could go on forever, but biggest thing I want to say is thank you guys for being here. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Be sure to click the bell notification. That'll let you know anytime I drop a new video. Like this video. Be sure to comment, because I'm really listening to what you guys are saying, and it's really informing me on what you want to see for videos going forward. So your comments are super crucial. I reply to every comment that you guys make. I'll never not reply. You know, I even went as far as replying to someone last week, like hit me up on Instagram and we can talk more. Like I'm definitely down to like help you guys out in any way that I can. So thank you for being here. That is all for today.